Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 1 hour, India's Parliament Adjourned sine die. Criminal Laws Bill, the Press and Registration of Periodicals Bill, and the Telecommunications Bill 2023, among others, passed. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says fighting will not stop until victory. UNSC vote on urgent humanitarian pause in Gaza further delayed till Friday.
What I suggest for Hamas is very simple: surrender or die.
Day of mourning declared in Czech Republic after gunman kills 14 in unprecedented attack at Prague University.
It looks like it's something totally unprecedented, and I think everybody's completely shaken.
And in sports, India beat South Africa by 78 runs to seal the ODI series 2-1. Arshdeep Singh takes 4 wickets for India. Let's get you updates from India first. In a historic decision, the Loksabha on Thursday passed the Press and Registration of Periodicals Bill 2023, repealing a colonial-era law dating back to 1867. The bill has already been passed by the Rajya Sabha in the monsoon session. The next report tells you all about the significance of this and other bills that have either been passed by one or both houses of Parliament. Now, these bills pertain to reorganization and reservation in Jammu and Kashmir, or those that seek to replace the Indian Penal Code, the Criminal Procedure Code and the Evidence Act. Take a look at this report.
Disruptions in proceedings both were a part of the winter session of the Indian Parliament. 12 bills were passed by both the houses. These include the Jammu and Kashmir Reservation Amendment Bill 2023, the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Amendment Bill 2023, and the Press and Registration of Periodicals Bill 2023. The Jammu and Kashmir Reservation Amendment Bill 2023 amends the Jammu and Kashmir Reservation Act of 2004. It provides for reservation in jobs and admission in professional institutions for SCs, STs and others. The Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Amendment Bill 2023 amends the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act of 2019. This legislation provides for the reorganization of Jammu and Kashmir into union territories of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. It increases the number of J&K Assembly seats to 90. It reserves 7 seats for SCs and 9 for STs. The Lieutenant Governor may nominate up to 2 members from Kashmiri migrant community, one of whom must be a woman. The Lieutenant Governor may also nominate 1 member representing displaced persons from Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. The Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Second Amendment Bill 2023 reserves as nearly as possible 1/3 of all elected seats in the Jammu and Kashmir legislature for women. The reservation applies to the seats reserved for SCs and STs. The reservation becomes effective once the census is conducted. The reservation will be in place for 15 years. Seats reserved for women will be rotated after each delimitation. The Press and Registration of Periodicals Bill 2023 allows the publisher of a periodical to obtain a registration certificate by filing an online application with the Press Registrar General and specified local authority. It says that terror convicts cannot publish a periodical. Prior approval for reproduction of foreign periodical is required. It also allows for suspension of a periodical's registration under certain conditions. 3 bills to amend the Indian Penal Code, Criminal Procedure Code and the Evidence Act were also passed by the Lok Sabha. The Rajya Sabha discussed them on Thursday. These are the Bharatiya Nyaya Second Sanhita 2023, the Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Second Sanhita 2023 and the Bharatiya Sakshya Second Bill 2023. The Bharatiya Nyaya Second Sanhita 2023 replaces the Indian Penal Code. It adds community service as punishment. Sedition is no longer an offence under this new bill. There's a new offence for acts endangering India's sovereignty. Terrorism has been added as an offence. Organised crime has also been added as an offence. Petty organised crime is also going to be an offence now. The Bharatiya Nyaya Second Sanhita 2023 replaces the Criminal Procedure Code. It mandates forensic investigation for certain offences, trials and proceedings in electronic mode. Electronic devices containing digital evidence have been allowed. Trial and judgment in the absence of the offender has also been allowed. Voice samples can also be collected under the new law. The Bharatiya Sakshi Second Bill 2023 replaces the Indian Evidence Act. The new bill classifies electronic records as primary evidence. The records could include semiconductor or other devices. And secondary evidence also includes oral and written admissions. The Telecommunication Bill 2023 seeks to replace the Indian Telegraph Act 1885 and Indian Wireless Telegraphy Act 1933. The government aims to modernize India's regulatory framework in the digital age through this bill, which empowers the national government to establish rules for the protection of telecommunication networks. Under the Telecommunication Bill 2023, spectrum will be allocated through auction. Interception will be on special grounds. Telecom services can be suspended. Right of way for laying telecom infrastructure is allowed. Measures are there to protect users as well. The Internet and Mobile Association of India lauded the government's efforts and expressed happiness over the exclusion of certain services. The bill excludes email, internet-based communication services, broadcasting services, machine-to-machine communication services, and over-the-top or OTT communication services. Gautam Roy, DD India.
India's southern state of Tamil Nadu is expected to witness more downpours after heavy monsoon rains brought deadly flash floods and submerged the entire neighborhoods earlier this week. The Met Department has forecast further heavy rain in parts of the state from Sunday. That will run into Monday as well. The downpour occurred as the state reels from the aftermath of cyclone Mibjon, which battered Tamil Nadu earlier this month. The deluge has weakened since December 18th, with conditions improving for rescue crews. India's northeast monsoon usually runs from October to December, bringing heavy rains, particularly to the south. Anbar Hassan joins us from Tuticorin to get us more. Anbar Hassan, good morning. Let us get the latest on the flood situation in Tuticorin from you first.
After the unprecedented rain in the southern districts last December 17 and 18, this December 17 and 18, still water level has been not receded in the Tuticorin and neighboring places, and still rescue and relief works are going on. And the Chief Minister M.K. Stalin visited yesterday Tuticorin city, where he given a relief and materials to the, and also he announced the relief announcement of 6,000 rupees per family in the Tirunelveli and Tuticorin districts, and 1,000 rupees for the Tenkasi and Kankamari district.
All right, Anbar Hassan, also get us...
And the central assessment team also.
Yes, please continue.
Assessment team also visiting the places. Central assessment team also visiting the Tuticorin and Tirunelveli district yesterday, and they actually went into via boats to interior parts of Tirunelveli and Tuticorin, and still there is a rescue place and going on via Sri Vaikundam, Eril, those kind of places where still the lot of villages has been cut off by the main networks of road actually washed away. So Navy and Indian Air Force both are doing via helicopter to airdropping the food. And also there is a announcement today, the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman going to attend the press conference regarding the Tamil Nadu flood.
Anbar Hassan, please continue.
And after the unprecedented rain, still the electricity and also the food has been, food and essential supplies has been very difficult for the local people of Tuticorin to get it. And there is a 40 ton of food has been airdropped to the Tuticorin district. And also in Tuticorin port, where there is a main goods and a lot of equipments has been washed away. And there is a announcement by the government. Around 32 people has been dead in the both districts, Tirunelveli and Tuticorin.
All right, so 32 people are dead in Tirunelveli and Tuticorin. Also, get us more on how has the Met Department predicted the weather in the next few days, because we tell our viewers that heavy rains are expected from Sunday onwards, that will run into Monday as well. And also, after any district or any places struck with floods, generally we see the spread of epidemic after the situation starts coming back to normalcy. Get us a sense of how well are the medical facilities there equipped in the state to face the challenge.
Actually, State Health Department has announced that to take a precautionary measurement in the water inundated areas where the water has been continuously locked, so there is a diseases may be spread. So people need to be precaution, and also there is a relief camps. The medicine, essential medicine has been provided to the people and all the people, because a lot of people are facing a difficulty to reach the hospitals, and particularly in Tuticorin Medical College, Medical Hospital, till water lagging has been there. So there is patients are not able to reach the hospitals inside. So still there is a ambulance, and there is ambulances are going into the interior parts are a little difficult. So essential medicine and has been adapted, and particularly the State Health Department has cautioned people to be safe, and also don't water, if there is a water lagging is there, don't go inside and doing it.
So word of caution by the authorities there.
It may provide epidemic diseases.
All right, Anbar Hassan, we leave it here. Thank you for joining in with those details. That was our correspondent Anbar Hassan joining us from Tuticorin, telling us more about the current situation there. And he tells that the relief operations are continuing, though the authorities there are facing difficulty owing to the waterlogged areas. And also he tells us that heavy rainfall is predicted in the state on Sunday as well. That will continue till Monday. We'll keep you updated. Let's turn focus to Jammu and Kashmir now. The death toll in Thursday's terror strike in India's Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir has mounted to 4, with 1 more army personnel succumbing to his injuries. 3 army personnel had attained martyrdom yesterday during an encounter at Surankot in the Poonch district of Jammu and Kashmir. In the encounter, 2 personnel were also injured. The terrorists had ambushed an army convoy from a hilltop. They attacked the army vehicles, which slowed down at a blind curve. The attack, which appeared to be a well-planned operation, was the 4th major ambush in twin border districts of Rajouri and Poonch this year, in which 20 army soldiers lost their lives. Ramesh Raina joins us with more from Jammu on phone. Ramesh, get us more on the investigations. Let us hear more from you on the attack. Ramesh, am I audible? Get us more on the ambush. Let us get the details from you about the update of the investigations. All right, I think we've not been able to establish contact there with Ramesh Raina. We'll try getting back to him again to get more. All right, Ramesh is there with us. Ramesh, am I audible?
Hello.
Yes, Ramesh, good morning. We've told our viewers about the death toll that has mounted to 4 with regard to the ambush yesterday. Get us the latest on the situation there, and also the investigations.
In yet another major loss for the army, 4th this year in the twin border district of Rajouri and Poonch, 4 army soldiers attained martyrdom, while 2 others were injured in an encounter with the terrorists at the Tiad Mode between Dera Ki Gali and Bafriyaz, falling under the jurisdiction of Surankot Police Station, Poonch district yesterday.
All right, Ramesh, thank you so much for joining in with those details. That was our correspondent Ramesh Raina spelling out more on the ambush. From here, we turn focus to the COVID update that has been the COVID alert, in fact, that has been sounded in the country. India has asked states and union territories to be on alert and maintain constant vigil amid an uptick in the COVID cases. The Indian Health Ministry urged people to stay cautious but not to panic. There will be no restrictions on travel at present, and no travel advisory will be issued for now, but masks will also not be made compulsory yet. In the last 2 weeks, 23 people who have died due to COVID already had serious illnesses. JN1 variant is a subtype of the virus. And now we take a look at other stories making it to the headlines from across India. The registration of youth on Mera Yuva Bharat, that is My Bharat portal, has crossed 2.2 million. The portal set up by Government of India for deployment of youth in the age group of 15 to 29 years. The platform connects youth with programs and learning opportunities in businesses, government departments and non-profit organizations. 18th Toshali National Crafts Mela in Indian state of Odisha is attracting thousands of visitors every day. Now, this annual extravaganza serves as a platform to showcase the rich cultural heritage of India's traditional art and craft. Craftsmen from more than 20 states and more than 600 stalls have been set up. The zoo administration in the Indian state of Madhya Pradesh has made special arrangements to protect wild animals from the chilly cold weather. Grass curtains, heaters and bulbs are being used to protect them from winter season. Along with this, curtains are put up so that a warm environment is maintained and changes are also made in the diet of the animals. Up next, we're heading for a short break, but on this edition of DD India News Hour, after the break, we get you amidst China-Philippines conflict. Philippines resolves to protect territorial integrity to contest its rights in the South China Sea and ignores China's call for rational choice. Holiday season will not be easy for Londoners. Unexpected train strikes and severe winds lead to delay or cancellations. And we also tell you about a special visitor at Florida Keys Aquarium Encounters.
China and the Philippines have had multiple face-offs in South China Sea. So what is the whole dispute about? Is China a sea bully? I connect the dots to get you the true picture. Watch Connecting the Dots every Friday at 8 p.m. IST on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour and I'm Preeti. We'll get you more international updates. Despite China's warning to Philippines to make the rational choice amid the latter's bold moves to contest its rights in the South China Sea waters, Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos said on Thursday that his government will stand up to coercion in the South China Sea. He said that Philippines will assert its right in accordance with the Philippines Constitution and international laws, stating that his country's recent moves in the South China Sea were a demonstration of Filipino courage against coercion. President Marcos said that Philippines is firm in its resolve to protect, preserve and uphold its territorial integrity. Patrick is joining us to get us more. Patrick, good morning. Let us understand more from you on the significance of these comments made.
Well, some reports have suggested that this is an acknowledgement by China, Wang Yi's comment, that is, that this is a situation that could become unmanageable. After all, this is coming from China's top man regarding foreign affairs rather than a representative of the military. Interestingly, it also suggests that all the confrontation that we've seen so far has been controlled and calculated to avoid triggering anything bigger or any sort of conflict. But a game of chicken is a game of chicken, and eventually one side has to snap. The difficulty is, though, is that China, while on the one hand is calling for dialogue, on the other it is saying that it will resolutely defend its rights and defend its sovereign territory, which really doesn't leave an awful lot of room for negotiation or dialogue. And a lot of people would say it is essentially telling the Philippines that it needs to back down.
Patrick, do we also see this as an immediate indication that matters might escalate beyond what we are actually seeing right now?
Well, a lot of what we're seeing, the frequency and severity of the confrontation of late has come about after China has expanded its presence of Coast Guard and naval vessels in the South China Sea. The Philippines Defense Minister said that it's likely that next year there will be multilateral patrols taking place, likely to involve the US, Japan and Australia. And so when you throw more military muscle into the mix, the chances of miscalculation become greater. Now, the reason why this tension has escalated over the past several months, and remember this is an issue that has simmered for years, is because the Philippines has sought to highlight China's aggressions and its sweeping claims over these waters. Remember, Beijing claims nearly all of the South China Sea. And so matters are coming to a head, particularly because Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos has sought to highlight this, and he has deepened security ties with the US, realigning from the Philippines' policy previously and pouring water on fire, you might say. The Philippine Defense Minister has said that no country supports China's claims to the South China Sea.
All right, Patrick, we leave it here. Thank you so much for joining in. With these details. And from here, we now turn focus to an update on the headline story we are tracking here at DD India News Hour. Mass shooting at a Prague university on Thursday left 14 people dead, while several others were injured in the unprecedented incident. The gunman was also found dead at the shooting site. DD India's Ross Cullen reports from Paris.
Armed police were deployed to the area in and around the famous Charles University in downtown Prague. It's one of the oldest universities in the world, and just a short walk from the landmark Charles Bridge in the centre of the Czech capital. There were videos purportedly showing the gunman dressed in all black and aiming a weapon over the side of a balcony, police confirming that he had been eliminated, in their words, but not before those confirmed fatalities. Other videos showing students sheltering high up on the side of a building on a narrow ledge just underneath a balcony. And there was an email circulated to staff and students at the university, which was seen by the Reuters news agency, urging everyone to shelter in place, stay in your rooms and offices, lock the doors, place furniture in front of the doors and turn the lights off. Other footage showing hundreds of people fleeing the university and thousands running away in the centre of the Czech capital. This is a very busy time of year for Prague, which has lots of festive markets, which are very popular, and that shooting coming just 4 days before Christmas. In Paris, Ross Cullen reporting for DD India.
The Czech Republic has declared a day of mourning across the Central European country for December 23rd to remember the victims of Prague University shooting incident on Thursday. The decision in this regard was taken after a special cabinet meeting with President Petr Pavel.
We're also asking all citizens of the Czech Republic on December 23rd, the day of national mourning, at 12 noon to pay respect to the victims by holding 1 minute of silence. We have also asked the local officials to facilitate the appropriate steps to commemorate this day of national mourning. We have also asked people to ring the bell at 12 noon across the entire Czech Republic so that through all these actions we could pay respect to the victims.
People travelling to and from the British capital are facing serious disruptions at one of the busiest times of the year. Unexpected train strikes and severe winds have led to dozens of journeys being cancelled or delayed, leaving thousands of people struggling to get home for the holidays. DD India's Julia Chapman gets this report from London.
The great Christmas getaway is always frantic in the UK, but this year there is more chaos than usual. Winds of 130 kilometres per hour in parts of the country have knocked trees onto train tracks and brought lines to a standstill. At one of London's main terminals, Euston Station, damaged power lines prevented most trains from coming and going on Thursday afternoon. The strong winds meant that even lines that were running had to run very slowly. An added hurdle emerged when French unions called a surprise strike that meant the Channel Tunnel between the UK and France had to close. That left 24 trains cancelled on the Eurostar line, the high-speed rail link between London and Paris. Some trains even had had to turn around and return to their point of departure. Friday is due to be the busiest travel day of the season, with Britons hoping for a smoother journey on their way to friends and family for Christmas. Julia Chapman in London, reporting for DD India.
Meanwhile, traffic on the cross-channel Eurotunnel will gradually resume following an agreement with the unions. Eurotunnel has confirmed that a last-minute strike by French workers, which halted trains during the day on Thursday, is over. Eurostar said it will resume a normal timetable out of London, Paris and Brussels on Friday. Also, it will put on 2 extra trains each day until Christmas Day to help deal with passengers who could not travel on Thursday. The protest over bonus pay caused massive disruptions on the busy London-Paris route during the day-long strike. Some trains had to return to the French capital just before reaching London, prompting the French government to call the industrial action unacceptable. The death toll from fire and blast at an oil terminal in Guinea has increased to 23 from 13, while the number of injured has gone up to 241 from 178, according to the government statement on Thursday. According to the statement, 10 remains were still to be identified, with incoming reports of several missing people. The blast at the West African nation's main oil terminal that handles its fuel imports sparked fears of shortages. The government also mentioned that gasoline distribution was ongoing across the country. A Norwegian cruise ship, MS Moth, suffered a power outage while sailing in North Sea, causing navigation failure on Thursday. This happened after a rogue wave shattered windows on the bridge while it sailed in the North Sea. Danish authorities informed that all 266 passengers and 131 crew members were safe and the situation is under control. According to the spokesperson from the Danish Joint Rescue Coordination Center, the vessel was being towed manually to a Danish port around 22:30 GMT. The Danish Joint Rescue Coordination Center is responsible for coordinating search and rescue operations. Let's get you more from the Korean Peninsula now. A reactor at North Korea's Yongbyon nuclear complex appears for the first time to be using atomic fuel, stated the IAEA on Thursday, which would mean that the country has a new potential source of plutonium for its nuclear weapons. The IAEA says it has observed a strong outflow of water from the light water reactor's cooling system since October, suggesting ongoing commissioning of the reactor. The IAEA had lost access to North Korea since Pyongyang expelled its inspectors in 2009. Hence, it now observes the country from afar, mainly using satellite imagery. France is planning to close its embassy in Niger for an indefinite period, as it is unable to carry out diplomatic tasks due to restrictions imposed by the ruling junta. As per the document sent to Nigerian employees of the French embassy, France will close its diplomatic mission in Niger following this summer's coup and soaring of relations between the two countries. French President Emmanuel Macron announced that the ambassador and the French troops are expected to leave Niger this month. Migrants in Mexico face the last obstacles in their path to the United States by crossing the Rio Bravo waters amid torrential weather. The Texas cities of Eagle Pass have received thousands of newcomers in the recent days as migrants, including many families with young children, make their way to the border by bus, cargo trains, foot and even by bicycles. Hundreds of migrants waited outdoors near the river to be processed by U.S. border officials on Wednesday. Let's take a look at other stories from across the world making it to the headlines. Heavy rains and flooding caused temporary road closures in Oxnard, Southern California, and evacuations in other parts of Ventura County, while the Ventura County Sheriff's Office reported evacuations in Port Hueneme area. The Golden Globes Award show will host comedian and actor Joe Coy, following previous hosts like Gerard Carmichael, Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, Ricky Gervais and Adam Sandler and Sandra Oh. The event will take place at Beverly Hilton on January 7th next year. Tepoztlán, Mexico hosts the annual Christmas pageant Pastorela. The event features elaborate costumes, music and political satire, retelling the story of Jesus' birth, a tradition popularized by European Christian missionaries. Santa visited the Florida Keys Aquarium Encounters, doling out treats to the residents, including cow nose rays, reef fish, and a lobster. Guests can follow Santa's example and feed the fish in the no-feed zone. All right, still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. After a short break, Zelensky received signals that Russia's military planning and activity was slowing as mass Russian drone attacks hit different districts of Kyiv. Man who spent 48 years in prison in the US for murder finally and formally declared innocent. We tell you ahead about the curious case of Glenn Simons. UN concerned over human rights situation in Afghanistan amid discrimination against women, repression of political dissent, torture and ill treatment.
Wherever news breaks, whatever it takes.
Connecting corners, cutting across continents.
Stories that matter from across the globe.
Accurate, authentic journalism that serves you right. From politics to glamour, from sports to world affairs. With a fusion of aesthetics and substance. Introducing news in a new avatar. Experience the world through a new lens. Stay tuned to DD India for an exciting journey beyond borders.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Let's take a quick relook at the top stories once again. India's Parliament Adjourned sine die, criminal law bills, the press and registration of periodicals bill and the telecommunications bill 2023 among others passed. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says fighting will not stop until victory. UNSC vote on urgent humanitarian pauses in Gaza further delayed till Friday. Day 3 of mourning declared in Czech Republic. Day of mourning declared in Czech Republic after gunman kills 14 in unprecedented attack at Prague University. And in sports, India beats South Africa by 78 runs to seal the ODI series 2-1. Arshdeep Singh takes 4 wickets for India. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Thursday said that Israel's military operation in Gaza will not stop until it achieves its goals. Netanyahu said that Israeli forces would fight until Hamas was destroyed and all remaining hostages taken by Hamas terrorists on October 7th were released.
We
are fighting until victory. We'll not stop the war until we achieve all its goals, destroying Hamas and releasing all our hostages. What I suggest for Hamas is very simple: surrender or die. They will not have any other choice. And after we destroy Hamas, I will do everything in my power to ensure that Gaza does not pose a threat to Israel.
Israel's chief military spokesperson has meanwhile said that the military continue to deepen their ground incursion in northern and southern Gaza. Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari said an increased number of forces were deployed in eastern Khan Yunis, where fighting was focused on forcing terrorists out of the underground tunnels.
We increased the number of combatants in eastern Khan Yunis and we are operating there with determination with 5 infantry units and broad engineering forces with a focus on underground fighting to remove the terrorists, to wait for them above ground and fight them when they come out and to get Hamas out of this territory.
UN Security Council diplomats further delayed until Friday a vote on a resolution to increase humanitarian aid into Gaza. The UN vote was delayed despite the United States saying it can now support an amended proposal that would demand that Israel and Hamas allow the use of all available routes for humanitarian deliveries. An 8-day-long humanitarian pause that started on November 24th helped to increase aid deliveries to Gaza. The pause led to the release of more than 100 hostages held by Hamas since October 7th, and in exchange, 240 Palestinians were freed from Israeli jails. Let's turn focus to Russia-Ukraine crisis now. A mass Russian drone attack hit different districts of Kyiv on Thursday night, with Mayor Vitaly Klitschko and other officials reporting strikes on widely separated residential districts. It was the 6th drone attack on the capital this month. At least 2 people were injured. Klitschko said a drone had hit a block of flats in the Solomensky district in the center of Ukrainian capital, and that triggered a fire. Head of Kyiv's military administration, Sergei Popko, reported fragments from a downed drone had struck an apartment building in Holosivsky district, south of the city center. Pictures posted by Kyiv military administration showed smashed windows and heavy damage to the apartments. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Thursday that Ukraine was receiving signals that Russia's military planning and activity were slowing down. In his nightly video address, Zelensky said that this was noted in a report issued by HUR Military Intelligence Directorate.
Today there was a separate report from the HUR Military Intelligence Directorate. The enemy's plans, the work of the Russian defense. There are signals indicating a slowdown. We will continue to support their slowdown.
Hungary believes that allocating 50 billion euros to Ukraine from within the EU budget over 5 years is a bad decision. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban said on Thursday a sensible timeline should be set for any financing for Ukraine. Speaking at a press conference, Orban highlighted Hungary's proposal to provide assistance outside the EU budget via a joint loan, but would not approve the use of existing funds. EU leaders plan to revisit the issue at an emergency summit on February 1st. Orban also denied any Hungarian-Turkish agreement on NATO membership of Sweden. He added the decision lies on the Hungarian parliament, which doesn't have a great willingness to make this decision.
I am convinced that to give Ukraine 15 billion euros from the EU budget for 5 years, in which there is no money for this, and by taking out a loan, that's a bad decision. Instead, let's make a good decision, which is the Hungarian proposal. They want to give the money to Ukraine from inside the EU budget. Hungary wants to give it outside the EU budget. They have the possibility, if we don't agree on this, to resolve this outside the budget, but don't have the option of resolving this from the EU budget without Hungarian approval. They have the possibility, 26 members, to resolve this with a joint loan outside the budget. If this comes up, we will consider what we say.
Over 20 countries have agreed to participate in the new US-led coalition safeguarding commercial traffic in the Red Sea from attacks by Yemen's Houthi movement. However, most of the countries who have signed up have declined to be publicly named, that in view of political sensitivities of the operation as regional tensions soar. The United States launched Operation Prosperity Guardian 2 days ago to carry out joint patrols in Red Sea waters near Yemen. The crisis in the Red Sea has grown out of the war between Israel and Gaza's ruling Palestinian Islamist group Hamas. Meanwhile, shipping operations are currently being compromised by the need to avoid the Suez Canal due to the risk of attacks in the Red Sea and the restrictions on the Panama Canal following drought. The Panama Canal Authority has, however, said that it has not seen a notable traffic increase due to the situation in the Red Sea, where attacks by Yemen's Houthi group are forcing vessels to divert or switch their transponders off. The hostilities have put a chokehold on ship passages through the Suez Canal, which handles about 12% of worldwide trade. Moving on to the updates on U.S. presidential elections now. A Biden-Trump rematch in the next year's poll seems to be increasingly likely, but both men go into the race lacking popularity. So much so that some polls suggest as much as a fifth of the electorate falls into the so-called double haters category, those who are disillusioned by both Biden and Trump. And it is feared that these are the voters that could decide next year's election. Nick Harper gets us the details from Washington.
In U.S. politics, 2 parties dominate: Joe Biden's Democrats and Donald Trump's Republicans. But a growing group of voters are looking for something different.
I declare my independence. I declare my independence.
I declare my independence. It's that independent spirit and dislike of establishment politics that some outsider candidates are hoping to tap into.
I'm here to declare myself an independent candidate
Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the nephew of the late former President John F. Kennedy, is running without the backing of a party, as is progressive academic and activist Cornel West.
We got a choice between neo-fascists like Brother Trump or milquetoast neoliberals like Brother Biden.
A bipartisan group known as No Labels is also looking for a high-profile candidate to mount a presidential challenge, all of which could spell trouble for Biden and Trump, pulling votes away from them in what is expected to be a tight race.
There are some lapsed Republicans who don't like Trump, but also maybe don't like Biden and probably disapprove of his job performance. You know, I can imagine some of those folks going into the No Labels camp, and I think this is why Democrats are much more worried about No Labels than Republicans are, because the feeling is that the Republican base is sort of more solid behind Trump.
But to secure votes, these independent candidates first need to get on the ballot in each of the 50 US states. And that requires thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of signatures from supporters. These outsider challengers appear to pose more of a threat to incumbent Joe Biden, but opinions could change in the coming months.
When it comes to the polls ahead of the election, people are much more likely to say that they're considering a third-party candidate and much less likely to vote when election day comes. People get cold feet and they decide at the very end that they don't want to waste their vote.
If all of this wasn't already enough to make getting into the White House practically a mathematical impossibility, there's also the small matter of history. Importantly, an independent candidate has never won in a modern US presidential election. But if they manage to win over just a few thousand disaffected voters in key battleground states, they might do enough to alter the outcome, preventing an establishment Democrat or Republican from winning in November. Nick Harper in Washington, reporting for DD India.
Moving on now, Trump ally Rudy Giuliani filed for bankruptcy on Thursday, days after his jury decided that he must pay more than $148 million to defame two former Georgia election workers. Giuliani filed a petition in the U.S. Bankruptcy Court for the Southern District of New York. In the filing, he said that he had between $100 million and $500 million in liabilities and $1 million to $10 million in assets, including $148 million owed to former Georgia election workers Ruby Freeman and Von Ramos. The filing also listed President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, as a creditor without specifying the amount Giuliani owed him. Glenn Simers has been released from prison in Oklahoma, serving nearly half a century despite being innocent of murder. He is now fighting for compensation with his lawyers, who predict it might take years for him to receive a payout. DD India's correspondent Caroline Malone gets us details.
Well, this case is of a person in the US who spent the longest time in jail only to be found innocent. 71-year-old Glenn Simmons was just released in July of this year, and a judge has just found him to be innocent of murder. He was convicted in 1975 when he was just 22 years old. He spent more than 48 years in prison and just got bail a few months ago. He was declared innocent after a review of the case and the evidence by a judge in Oklahoma. They decided that some evidence wasn't given to his defense lawyers that included police reports that had witnesses possibly identifying other subjects. Well, Simmons said after he was released that this has been a lesson in resilience and tenacity, and that nobody should tell you that things like this can't happen, because they really can. Very optimistic for someone that spent, nearly 50 years in jail. He is potentially lined up for compensation, although his lawyers say it could take years and there could be a possible federal lawsuit. He, for the moment, is having to survive off donations, having spent most of his life in jail and not able to make a living for himself. Caroline Malone in Washington for DD India.
The UN Special Representative for Afghanistan has said that the key features of the human rights situation in the country are a record of systematic discrimination against women and girls, repression of political dissent, and also torture and ill treatment. Representing his country, Afghan Charge d'Affaires to the United Nations, said the lack of progress in resolving human rights issues is a key factor behind the current impasse. In the eastern and southern regions, there has been a dramatic surge in the number of Afghans returning from Pakistan following the government of Pakistan's announced repatriation of illegal foreigners from 1st November. Since then, more than 450,000 Afghans have returned, over 85% of whom are women and children. A short break ahead on DD India News Hour, but after the break, Angola makes a shock announcement of leaving OPEC over disagreement on oil production quotas. Crude prices dipped by more than 1.5% after the announcement. Argentines upset on Milei's economic reforms, who pledged shock therapy for the economy. European Union's top court comes down heavily on soccer bodies FIFA and UEFA, chiding them for abusing their dominant position by forbidding clubs to compete in a European Super League.
Philippines have had multiple face-offs in South China Sea. So what is the whole dispute about? Is China a sea bully? I connect the dots to get you the true picture. Watch Connecting the Dots every Friday at 8 p.m. IST on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Up next, we get two updates from the world of business now. Oil prices, which rallied earlier in the week due to concerns about shipping disruption in the Red Sea, fell after Angola announced it is leaving the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, that is OPEC. Angolan oil minister said that the country's membership in OPEC was not serving its interests. The Saudi-led producer group in recent months has been rallying support to deepen output cuts and boost oil prices. Angola produces around 1.1 million barrels per day as compared with 28 million barrels per day for the whole group. The country's exit raises questions about the cohesion and direction of OPEC, even though it is one of the smallest producers and its departure may have a limited impact on global supplies. U.S. stocks closed higher on Thursday, winning back much of the previous day's losses. Economic data fueled optimism that the Federal Reserve would ease monetary policy and revived investor risk appetite. All the three major U.S. stocks posted gains as the chips surged, led by Micron Technology after its better-than-expected quarterly forecast, putting the tech-heavy NASDAQ out front. The rally gained momentum as the session drew to a close. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 0.87%, the S&P 500 gained 1.03%, and the NASDAQ Composite added 1.26%. Thousands of Argentines took to the streets for a second day on Thursday to oppose an emergency presidential decree by new President Javier Milei, protesting against sweeping austerity measures and demanded financial support for the poor. Argentine sovereign debt rose on Thursday and stocks dipped after early gains as market participants cautiously welcomed the decree ending limits on exports and taking other steps to deregulate an ailing economy. Milei, who has pledged shock therapy to deal with economic malfunctioning, told local media on Thursday that the measures were unfriendly but necessary to fix macroeconomic imbalance. Let's talk of sports now. In cricket, India defeated South Africa by 78 runs in the third and final ODI of their three-match series. The win helped India clinch the series 2-1. Chasing the set target of 297 to win, South Africa bowled out for 218 in 45.5 overs, despite a knock of 81 runs by Tony D. Zorzi. Meanwhile, Arshdeep Singh took 4 wickets for the visitors. Washington Sundar and Avesh Khan scalped 2 dismissals each. The Indian women's hockey team wrapped up their Five Nations Tournament Valencia 2023 campaign with a 2-1 win against Ireland. India started the game on the front foot with Deepika slotting the ball into the back of the net to give India the lead early in the first quarter. Sangeeta Kumari scored in 22 minutes to give India the further lead, while captain Catherine Mullen scored the only goal for Ireland. European clubs that proposed forming the breakaway league, which sparked widespread protests among angry fans, had been threatened with sanctions by UEFA if they went ahead with the plan, leading to 9 clubs pulling out. A ruling from the European Court of Justice in Luxembourg stated world and European governing bodies, FIFA and UEFA, had abused a dominant position by threatening the Super League clubs and their players with sanctions and exclusion from major competitions. The European Court also said that the rules that demand prior approval for inter-club football projects were unlawful. The court called FIFA and UEFA's rules relating to the exploitation of media rights harmful to the clubs, media companies and fans. Within hours, a new European Super League proposal had been released. From chart races to boat races, Mark Antony is now the owner of a new electric race boat team. The Latin singer has bought Miami Electric Power Boating Team. Team Miami will compete in the first E1 World Championship set to take place in February next year, where pilots will fly above the water surface behind the wheel of the racebird using innovative hydrofoil technology. E1 currently has 7 power boating teams, with the Vivermi Vida Singers team becoming the 8th. All right, with that, we end this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, and also Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.